Hello everyone and welcome to the final video of this lot of Kamen Rider Den-O Figuarts. Taking a look at most of the releases of the initial run of Kamen Rider Den-O Figuarts. In the first video we took a look at 4 of Den-O's basic forms. Second video we took a look at both his final forms. Third video we took a look at Cyrano's and New Den-O, and then we looked at all the Imagines, and then looked at some of the Dark Rider figures. And finally today we're taking a look at Kamen Rider Den-O's bike that was released in 2014, which compared to the first Den-O figure that was released back in 2012. And that is, I think, a long time considering the toy industry or similar things such as, nerd culture, media and all that. So a lot has changed between those few years, and it's pretty crazy to see a sort of single line of just Den-O figures going through all those years and seeing a few upgrades and differences between some of the manufacturing and coloring and whatever. So in this video, taking a look at Den-O's bike as well as having a conclusion with what I feel after taking a look at all of these Den-O figures and see how well they stack up compared to the more modern releases that we have today with the real bone stuff, for example. And yes, I have pre-ordered Kamen Rider Den-O sword form and gun form real bone as well as the fat form, and I will definitely be picking up the new version Momotaros as well. And when I do get those figures, I will be comparing them with the original Figuarts release. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to be subscribed to this channel, have that little bell notification as well. You can support this channel by clicking the thumbs up button if you like what you see here, or the thumbs down button if you don't like what you see here, as well as leave a comment below how you feel about these Figuarts in general. And as always, you can support this channel by turning ad block off while watching the videos, or heading over to Patreon and supporting it that way. And if you like what you see here, I also review a lot of other Figuarts, Figma, NECA, Hasbro Black Series, etc., as well as Lego toys, Henshin toys, and also a lot of knockoff toys as well. So without further ado, let's move on to the bike. So what we have here, apart from the bike itself, we also have 3 pairs of bike riding hands. We have the regular Den-O hands, new Den-O hands, as well as the Den-O liner hands as well. So that's kind of cool that come over the bike. We also have a bike stand that plugs into the wheel to hold it up, as well as a spare set of rear view mirrors and little trigger or controller things, handlebars. So it's kind of cool to see these again. All of the new bike releases these days, they don't have any spare pieces whatsoever, and whatever bike holding hand that could have come with the actual figure as just a weapon holding hand, they can get away with it. They sort of just do that these days. So yeah, it's cool seeing a lot of extra stuff in with this bike. So just quickly going through the articulation of this, you got the wheels, of course, they spin, and no soft plastic here, but it does have a nice soft feel to it because it's sort of a matte finish. The bike this also turns very well. That's pretty awesome. You got this stand that comes down. It also have a spring-loaded suspension here, this is actually a very tight spring. That's pretty good. That's a very sturdy one, so that's a nice little squeeze there. And we also have this bit that pops out on these 2 little stands, and that feels very secure. Actually, when I first opened this up, this was I guess just because it's never been moved, it's a bit stiff, but after moving it the first time, it's all pretty good. So in terms of the details of the bike itself, the white plastic is done pretty nice, and the silver, chrome, and these little tubes, all those molded details are pretty good as well. The seat there has a nice sort of soft look to it, just with the matte coloring finish. That's pretty cool. And the metallic blue on the fins there, as well as the front, are also pretty good as well. Moving on to the front, the lights there look very nice with transparent plastic. A little bit of transparent plastic up here too. And on the back we also have transparent plastic for these lights, as well as this little single pad in the middle. No license plate details or whatever, they never have those, but it's still cool that it is there and just sort of left blank, so that's kind of nice. On the top here we do have this little Den-O logo there, and it's pretty cool, like despite being a few years apart, they make sure they keep the compatibility of some of the older stuff. So the original Den-O Figuarts, the chain pass can just sort of slide in there, but when you just have this bike like that, it's kind of cool that it's in there, it's part of the role-playing, I guess, function, but it doesn't click in there, whatever, and it's quite loose. If you just yeah, it would just slide out and fall out, and you will lose it if you're not careful. So be careful with that. I'm pretty much just going to use it as, again, like I said, if it's just certain displays or role-playing stuff with the toys, but otherwise I'm not going to have the card in there at all. So the overall look of the bike is pretty good. There's no like die-cast metal bits in them. There's a few metal bits like screws and whatever, and but there's no visible screw holes anywhere, so that's good. But overall it is just entirely made out of plastic, which it's fine. It gets the job done. It looks, as long as it looks good, I don't need too much like metal in the bike itself. It stands quite easily even without a little bike stand, and overall looks pretty nice. It is a pretty cool bike, and I think this piece is reused because even in the show, a lot of the bikes are coming from the same factory, so they might have the same motors and stuff. So yeah, I feel like I've seen this motor before from some of the other rider bikes. But overall, this bike looks pretty cool. It's got nice suspension, nice coloring, and yeah, pretty nice. Also, with all of this transparent plastic, no spaces all over the place, I wonder how easy or hard it is to compared to other bikes it is to mod it, to actually put some lights in there. Should look pretty cool. Obviously, one of the main functions of a bike is to see how well the main character can sit on it. You can see here, Denno is quite comfortable on it, and I do look forward to seeing how the wheelbarrow version will sit on this bike as well. And this bike is a bit on the larger side, which is totally fine, and with the real bone figure being a bit of a bigger figure than these older Figuarts, it's hopefully it does quite well on this bike as well. And you see here, his butt is very cleanly sitting on the seat right there. That's pretty cool. Now, because of his armor there, he can't really bend his stomach too much, but he still looks relatively comfortable and looks pretty good on this bike. So overall, this bike is, yeah, very accommodating, and the figure sits very well on it. If you're a Denno fan and Kamen Rider fan, which they are riders, so they do need their bikes, this is a very cool bike to have. It is a little bit on the more expensive side, I think, but because I got this in a job lot of figures, I managed to get it for a pretty cheap price. As I mentioned in this previous video, everything divided down to roughly around 200 or 250 for each box of stuff. So that means this bike was 250 for me, so that's just great value. But if you get this for out there, it's probably going to be like 300 or maybe even 400. If you get a good deal, you can probably push it down to 300. So good luck with that, and it's definitely worth it at 300. And if you're a big Denno fan, then maybe 400 it's okay, but I wouldn't go too far more than that. The overall look of the bike is pretty good. The extra pieces and spare parts are also pretty nice to have in one of these bike sets as well. And the overall paint job is pretty good as well. So overall, if you're a Denno fan, I definitely recommend picking up this bike. So after taking a look at all of these Denno related Figuarts, how do I feel about the line? First of all, it's super colorful. Just the different rider forms and different combinations and all the different armor pieces and molds and sculpting. It's all pretty good. And while all of these figures are still from the older era Figuarts where they're a little bit on the skinny side, most of them get away with it with the bulky armor. The worst offenders here are probably new Denno figure form, Denbird, and perhaps Momotaros, which is unfortunate. But all the other figures do look pretty decent and good enough, I would say. Obviously, whichever character, whichever form we get in the real build version is going to improve a lot and look so much better and more screen accurate, but for what they are, they still look pretty decent. They were good for their time and still pretty decent for today's standards. And the good thing is, for the most part, you can get most of these for a pretty cheap price, and when the real bone version does come out, these are going to be even cheaper. And if you don't want to bother with the real bone one and don't want to pay the higher price for it, there was a re-release of Kamen Rider Den-O for the Z-O, so Heisei 20th anniversary line. He does come with slightly less accessories, but if you just want the basic figure and his sword or weapons or whatever, that's totally fine there. And of course, there's also the Figuarts version is going to come out, which includes sword form, and you can transform back into the flat form, so you got those as well. As mentioned in one of the other videos, it's surprising how much mileage you can get just by recoloring certain armor parts and certain sculpts, or just adding a few pieces here and there. So overall, just like the show, this is a colorful lot and a pretty decent pickup if you can get these in a job lot, of course. If you're buying these individually, obviously pick the colors you want and different forms you want. For me personally, if you're a big Denno fan, yeah, you can get the lot, and it's very fun to have all of these standing together and posing all of them. But if you're only going to pick some of them, I obviously going to recommend the basic sword form and Momotaros, of course. Definitely get the deluxe version that comes with the table and stuff. And as a personal favorite, I do really like New Denno, so get that too. Out of all the villains, I would recommend, just for the sake of Denno, get the Yuki, the skeleton one, because that's more of a Denno villain, while G Denno is arguably a better figure for the villains. He's more of a D-end villain just because he's in one of the later movies. And of course, a rider can't be without this bike, so you know, that's something you definitely want to pick up as well. If you've been collecting rider bikes, this one is a good one. As a secondary rider, Xeranos here is decent enough, but not as good as compared to some of the other secondary rider releases, but what we have here is still good enough to pick up, I would say. Honestly, you really can't go too much wrong picking up any of these figures, so if you like Denno, definitely pick them up. If you see them for lower prices, definitely pick them up, you know, whatever discounts. Overall, this is a fun lot of videos to take a look at some of these figures again, and yeah, it's still pretty cool. So yeah, subscribe, suggest, and comment below, and guys, take care and have a nice day. I will see you guys soon. Bye bye now.